Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Hello everyone, welcome to your latest Wolves Fancast episode. I'm your host, Little Dan. On tonight's show, I've got with me Stu and Greg to talk about today's fixture release for the 2025-2026 Premier League season, along with all the latest news from Molineux, Compton, and the esports world of China. Stu, you've caught yourself a nice little tan from your recent trip away. How are things with you in the life of land of Stu, in the sort of moniker of the land of Sylvan of yesteryear?
You comparing me to Sylvan Ebanks Blake here? I mean, for the audio listeners, I haven't got that much of a tan. Let's just get it out of the way right now.
I was talking about Sylvan Deslons.
Even so,
land of Sylvan.
Yeah, where did he go? It's already off the rails already. Literally seconds into the show. Yeah, it was good.
That's money on it. I reckon he's into crypto.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it was good. First break away from these shores for 7 years, something like that. So, yeah, I proper Brit abroad. Had my bucket hat on, floral shorts, sliders.
Kit every day of the week.
Every day of the week. To be done.
Thanks to everyone that's joining us live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Please continue to subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us at Wolves Fancast across social media. This show is in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network. Evening to Max, Neil, Martin, and all that was joining us. Greg, all recovered now from the charity match. How are things?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Trying to work out at the moment which games I'm plumping for. I'm kind of preferring the under-21s to the World Cup, Club World Cup, if I'm honest. Particularly the Portuguese ones, to see who might be recycled into our club in the not too distant future as part of the Mendes carousel. So yeah, just been keeping an eye on that. Really, you can always find a football game somewhere, as we saw during COVID, with people betting on the Kazakhstan third division and stuff. So yeah, just watching a bit of that and enjoying the good weather at the moment, which is always a bonus. Let's be honest.
I know you're a bit of a football nonce, Stu. What have you been partaking in viewership wise recently?
Unbelievably, I've probably watched about a third of the Club World Cup. Even that quite incredible Boca Benfica game a couple of days ago. I did get the old Freeview recorder out and recorded that because it was at night time. And I thought, no, I can't miss this one. And because not many of us are watching it apart from me and Dean, so it's easy to avoid the scores. So I watched that in full, which I haven't done for years and years. 2-2, 2 settings off, brilliant. It's been nowhere near as terrible as I thought it was going to be. I mean that Man City game just is not a great advert for that statement, but Neves FC's on in a minute, so that's on in the background just in case.
Yeah, this is an unofficial Real Madrid versus Al Hilal watch along. Also, I'm dipping my toe into the Club World Cup for the first time. How did Man City end? Stu, I know it was 2-0, but I don't even know who scored for Man City today.
Foden, of course.
Both goals.
I didn't see the second one. I was outside. I just saw the second. I've got a new toy. I've got some video glasses, which that could be for a different thing altogether. But I was watching the game outside, and I had to come in to get the charger for it. So I missed the second goal. They didn't show the replay, which is wonderful.
Doku scored the second one.
No,
he kind of did a little kind of sprint celebration, kind of ran off and was like, mate, it's like a pre-season type tour. Or post-season, do whatever you want to do it. Yeah, he's got to be excitable.
But Foden did get superior player of the match as the title is in this tournament.
Yeah, I've got little to no interest in this Club World Cup. Like I think Greg said, I've been keeping more an eye on the under-21s in the hope that we can somehow muster one of the tournament gems going into this summer's transfer window. The one player who looks very close to becoming a Wolf is Celta Vigo forward for Lopez, who apparently has completed his medical at Wolves with a fee of around £19 million. We had one comment off Facebook a moment ago, Stu, saying, what sort of budget do we really expect Wolves to have available this summer? Can you answer the budget question and how much you realistically think Wolves are going to spend this summer?
I mean, there's the nice answer and then there's the more realistic answer. If you think that we haven't got any debt, really, and we've got to pay 22-ish for Strand Larsen out of this budget, if they're just doing it, unless they do some kind of strange deal where they do the same kind of thing and have them on loan and then with obligation to buy next summer or something like that, I'd imagine they'd probably looking about 60 million max out of the money. I know that people are going to say, yeah, well, we've sold Nori and we sold Cunha. We know what they're like at this point. I mean, we've been saying this for 5-6 years. I'd imagine 60 million, 70 at a push. Or I'll win it more than that.
Stu, your microphone's going to be iffy again. I'll ask you, Greg, on that same sort of question, budget and likely expenditure value, you think?
Yeah, I think you're probably in that ballpark. I don't think Stu's too far wrong. I think what we're seeing now is a shift to this kind of price point. I think that's the key. I think for the foreseeable future, the deals, like the Cunhas, the 40 mils, the Nunez's, I think that strategy is now done. I don't see that changing unless something exceptional happens. I think what we'll see is players around that 15 to 25 million price point, and that was kind of reflected in the January transfer window with Agbadu, and that, if you look at that kind of price point, that seems to be where Wolves are positioning themselves now from a transfer perspective. So if you think 4 or 5 of those puts you around 60 to 75 million, and I think that's probably where we would see ourselves, unless we go on some kind of crazy, sneak strategy and we're all of a sudden got loads of money and we're not going to tell anyone and Mendes is going to go crazy. Then I think what Stu said plays out. To be honest, I think that's where we'll get to. I think we'll end up 4 or 5 players. Again, a lot of this will depend on the departures, which is kind of what you're kind of showing there. For those of you who are on the podcast, you won't be able to see that, obviously, but there's potentially a number of players that could be on their way out, players that we've released, and I think it'll just be how that balances out. If we lose both the goalies, then I think that'll increase the kind of the spend. But I think that in terms of the total cost, I think it'll come in around that 60 to 75 million.
There has to be a level of craziness in regards to quantity of turnover, Greg, surely. We look with the players that are mentioned on that screen there. Obviously, Mateus Cunha's joined Man United, Ryan Aitnoy to Man City. Pablo Sarabia in the last era has joined Saudi side at Al Arabi. Craig Dawson's left on a free transfer. There's a whole list of academy players who haven't been given new deals at professional level. The offer contract to Nelson Semedo is still outstanding. I think I'm starting to get a bit peeved off with the Nelson Semedo situation. I feel that the club should have pressed him for a decision by now. I understand he's had a late deal. He's having to consider his options. He's been away with the Nations League, but he needs to make a decision imminently for me, so we can start planning our recruitment come the summer window. But like I said, there has to be a level of quantity of turnover that has to happen this summer, regardless of transfer values or quality.
I'd agree. No, I agree. I can't argue with that, mate. I think the Nelson one is primarily of our own doing, which is a real problem for us. We've made a late last gasp curveball deal that's thrown everything. I think in his head and in his heart he was gone. Certainly from the last game of the season when he obviously was saying kind of pretty much saying goodbye to everyone. I think we'll see how that plays, but we've thrown the curveball. It's our lack of planning and lack of scheduling that's caused that issue. Not necessarily Nelson, but you're right. From a planning and prep perspective, we absolutely need to get that addressed one way or another, because that will be quite a sizable gap we'll need to address on top of others that you've already talked about.
We discussed it on the last show. I'll ask you this one, Stu. Obviously, Wolves have announced the arrival of Dominic Tettey in the last sort of week or so. What's your thoughts on that appointment and the sort of restructuring that's happened at Wolves with the departure of Matt Hobbs and sort of Matt Wall, Phil Haywood, Max Fitzgerald taking up new roles within the club?
You know, when this whole sporting director thing, is it fixed now? Is the microphone okay now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
me know.
what comes out your mouth might be a different story, but audio-wise,
Yeah.
yeah, you crack on.
Yeah, that was set up, wasn't it? But the whole point of the whole sporting director of football thing was, okay, this is the guy at the head of the regime that if the managers leave, then you've got some continuity. And it's all a load of bollocks, isn't it? Because look what's happened already. You go one way, you got a manager who doesn't get on with the sporting director. They want to go a different way. Who really knows? This guy, no one really knows anything about him, do they? But other than he's worked with Vitor before, they seem to get along, which is great. It's what you want. It's the whole Mendes thing is a different story altogether. We can go backwards and forwards. I mean, you could fill 45 minutes just talking about that on its own. But it is what it is. I mean, he looks very evil. He looks very Bond villain, as a lot of people have said. It's all in the eyebrows, I think. But you do. We are playing with fire yet again, where we're going into the summer not prepared for anything yet again. It's now the 18th of June. The window's been open for 18 days, and well, before the Club World Cup, obviously, the greatest show on earth. Nothing's happened as per usual, and it just follows the pattern every year, the same thing, regardless of who's in charge, regardless of, oh yeah, this manager wants this player, but oh no, what a shock. And the annoying thing is it's already started with this guy, the guy who's got "and" in his name. And you think, okay, if he's a Mendes client, he'll be here. But he's not, so we're not going to pay the asking fee. So if that's true, then it's the same as it always has been, and it's going to be Mendes clients only. You roll the dice, you get a few good ones. So whoever's in charge, if it's Dominic Tetti, if it's Dominic Littlewood, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because Mendes is in charge.
I know you've obviously got your own feelings towards Fosun and their PR policies of, trying to keep us relatively tolerant to their lack of expenditure. But do you give them any sort of leniency in regards to they haven't announced many signings or any signings today because of the accountancy being closed the end of this month for the period?
Yeah, it's the 30th of June, isn't it? But it doesn't matter. It does, just because it closes. Then you could announce deals that would go through on the 1st of July. Like we announced Cunha on Christmas Day. That didn't go through on till the 1st of January because he couldn't do. So it's not really that much of an issue for me. It's just the fact that we're now getting a kid through who no one really, other than Marsden, has probably heard of before, who's played 17 league games for nearly 20 million quid. Bizarre.
Yeah, there's only 7 starts for Lopez at Celta Vigo as well.
It's an interesting one, though, because I had a look the other day. Pedro Neto had actually played less games when we signed him for, I think it was about 15. It depends on how you weight it, because obviously it was a double deal. But actually, Pedro Neto had played less first-team games than he had when he signed for us. And I think, like you said, Stu, I think it's going to be that some are good, some are not good, and it's going to be, this one could be a Neto, it could be a great deal, or it could be a bust like a Guedes or whatever. And I think that's the reality, and that's the risk we're going to be playing in that casino with these transfers.
That is the Mendes roulette, isn't it? Maximus Royce said it in the comments. There's a balance to be found between being 100% in Darth Mendes' pocket, who is a blessing and a curse, let's be honest, and having a comprehensive team in which Vitor Pereira can work with. We've found out the easy and the hard way with his client base. I feel like you mentioned Pedro Neto, which is a great example. Pedro didn't really hit the ground running, did he, when he joined from was it Lazio or Braga? I always get confused with the two. Yeah. One winger that Wolves have been linked to today is Raul Moro from Real Valladolid, who had a brief spell at Lazio similar to Pedro Neto, rumoured fee of around £8 to £10 million. There is a website called transferfeed.com which literally gives you all the latest transfer rumours, whether them complete, or have any sort of strong reliability to them. You see some of the players that have been linked. I thought the one name that came out last week, John Duran from Al Nasser would have been a really nice one. But you look at these websites and the transfer rumours that Wolves are linked to, and you think it is it's transfer window season. We're going to be linked to any man under the sun, especially any footballer under the just a few branch. We see some of the players there. Vladimir Kufal. What would you thought be on Vladimir Kufal if we went and signed him, Stu?
Funnily enough,
Nelson Semedo officially comes out on his Instagram that he's not renewing his contract with Wolves, and Wolves are then reported by John Percy that Wolves are in advanced talks with Vladimir Kufal. Where's your mindset?
I mean, for someone like that, if you're getting in for 2 years, it's not the worst thing in the world. When you've got Pedro, when you've got Lima, and you've got Rodrigo Gomez as potential wing backs on the right and on the left. As a stopgap, I wouldn't mind something like that. My issue with the whole Semedo thing is the longer it drags on, everyone knows that he's going to be on a bumper deal. Everyone knows it's 4 years, which is mental anyway. The minute he has a bad game, all them people, the scapegoats from 2-3 years ago, who've been waiting for him to be terrible again, are going to be straight on his back within seconds. And when you've got a player of that age being scapegoated and he has to come out the team for this, who knows? It's the whole thing just seems like a bad deal gone wrong already. And if that means getting someone like Kufal, there's obviously better out there. But I wouldn't say, let's fold the club or anything like that for him. Decent player, not first choice.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? I think Wolves need to start well with the incomings, just to give the fans a bit more optimism going into the new season. But yeah, Vladimir Kufal would not be a player I could even raise my heartbeat and excitement for. What would your thoughts be, Greg, on Kufal from West Ham?
I think he'd be a squad option. If he was to be given how important the wing backs are in our system, I think it'd be dangerous territory. I don't think he's particularly pacey. I think he's more of a solid fullback type operator from what I've seen, and I'll be honest, I've not seen lots of him other than occasionally and certainly in the Wolves game. So I'd be if he was backup or a squad player, then I think I'd be more happier. If he was a first choice, that would be more alarm bells for me.
It's been 10 days now since the Portugal Nations League final. The talk within social media is that Olympique Marseille have pulled out of contract negotiations with Nelson Semedo. Apparently, they were close to agreeing a deal before Nelson Semedo's management went back with a request for even a higher salary than what was originally agreed. People are talking about complacency. We've got LH in the comment section saying offering a 32-year-old a 4-year contract at 90 grand a week is utter lunacy. I mean, It could even be even more than 90 grand a week, couldn't it, Stu? I thought Nelson Semedo was on more than 90 grand at Wolves. Obviously, he's had the captaincy the last sort of 6 months. Money's irrelevant to fans, but is Nelson Semedo a must keep for you?
If say he was on 120 to 150, which seemed to be the thing, and I know what LH is saying there, because they said it's still a massive offer, but it's not what he was on at the minute. So fairness. So 90s, even if it is 90, that is ridiculous. And 2 years, 100%, great, nailed on. It has to be done. But 4 years is ridiculous. I said it as soon as it was announced. I said it, and I got shit already, like instantly. Like, what are you talking about? How can you say such a thing? But just if you think about it, you're committing so much money to a player who's pacey now. But we saw it with Dennis Irwin, how he just dropped off a cliff. We saw it with Kevin Foley. So if you move up a level, you with Gary Neville, how he just went from being great to being shit at Albion away, and that was the end of his career. Anything like that could happen to Semedo, and he's on a 4-year deal. He's not going to retire. So you're one bad injury away from giving someone like that mega bucks for no reason at all. And if it drags on and on and on, and he gets to he gets to pre-season and the players are back, I'd just say, just pull the deal. Just say, well, no, we need to prepare, like you said. We need to know where we stand and we need to look elsewhere. And I think that's fair.
Maximus right. Something to be said in keeping a captain for consistency in the group, but 4 years, yeah, it's whether it's like 2 years at the max salary, and then it defers to a lower salary over the third and fourth years, without knowing the actual deal that's been put on the table on paper, giving a first 2-year-old a 4-year contract, does seem a bit odd. But the fact that Marseille have pulled out negotiations, they don't want to break their wage structure for Nelson Semedo, you still don't want to be sort of the backup option, do you, Greg?
No, the French league aren't going to compete. I mean, the French league's in a whole heap of mess at the moment off the back of the TV deals and everything. So they will not be in a position to really fight fire with Premier League teams when it comes to salary. They just don't. I mean, they're all struggling at the moment. I mean, so I don't see, apart from obviously PSG, who are the kind of the outlier, the exception. So I can see Wolves quite easily outgunning pretty much any French league team, with the exception of PSG. So, but I think we've got the crux of the issue. I don't think it's the salary, it's the problem. It's the duration of the contract, and I think that's the reality. If it was 28, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It'd be give him 4 years, give him 5 years, whatever at that point. But we all know that, and Stu's called it out absolutely perfectly, is one bad injury, and then it looks like a very expensive cheerleader essentially, and that's the risk. And like I said, for me, that wing back role in the system is really important. They've got to be able to get up and down. They've got to be able to attack and defend and support. And Nelson's absolutely done that this season. Just gone, no question of that. But is he going to be doing that in 4 years' time? No. We are seeing some players starting to push it, but it's a big ask. And I think
in the wing back system, which we deploy, we need a wing back that's got endless amounts of energy, and so we said 4-year deal for a 32-year-old bonkers. But like just said, it's nearly 16 million over 4 years. That's madness. For me, I think we discussed this on a show recently. Sort of 16 million for a wing back of Nelson Semedo's caliber. You ain't getting that, are you really? If it was 16 million over 2 years, what caliber of right back are you going to get for 16 million? Because let's be daft for a second. If Koufal had a 2-year deal from West Ham, they're going to want at least half a 16 million for Koufal, wouldn't they? It's what type of caliber of player you getting for 16 million?
Yeah, and then you're putting the money on their wages are on put as well on top. And I know exactly what you're saying. And when you sign people on a free transfer, that money gets distributed across the length of the contract in wages. So that's always happened. But it just seems asking for trouble the way it's been done. And like Greg said, just being so late to start with a deal. Like they could have offered this at Christmas. And it's almost like, yeah, okay, here you go. We know that no one in Europe at our level is going to be able to match this. So if you want money, stay here. And it's like, well, what kind of things that to do to someone? It's just disrespectful more than anything else. And it makes him look, and fair play, he's at the age he's at, he should be looking to win things. I mean, we have got to look at the fact as well, like you said, Dan, about the wing backs in this system. He scored, 2 goals in the 5 years he's been here? He's not a goal threat. And yet he's got a great cross on him. And he does cause chaos. But so does Rodrigo Gomez, and he's already looking a more prolific prospect going forward than defending. Yeah. And I get the captaincy thing, but so there needs to be a cap somewhere. Just for common sense reasons, there needs to be one.
Yeah. On the back of the article that Johnny Phillips released via his Substack platform recently, it does appear that Wolves are looking to change, have already changed the structure within, coming close to relegation like we have done over the last couple of seasons. He did mention it does feel like the Wolves hierarchy have realised that they can't keep doing what they have been doing in regards to recruitment. Do you feel like from the March, April time to the end of the season, that sort of restructuring has reoccurred? That's why they've ended up going back with Nelson Semedo to a bigger contract to what was originally offered, maybe?
I mean, you can look at it from that point of view, and it'll make a lot of sense. When did the rumours start coming out about the things started being moving around in the first place? I think Hobbs was April. Someone mentioned it first, and was it Charlotte on Twitter mentioned it first? And if that was happening in April, and that's when the contract offer came in, then yeah, you might be onto something there. But again, it's like, okay, if we knew that was happening, and it does make if you look at it that point of view, it makes more sense of what happened at Palace with that experimental weird team that he put out. Like, okay, he is testing people out. He is having a look at someone else, knowing full well that we have got a bit of sway in the transfer market again, even by our own standards of shitness. So you can link it, and it does make some kind of sense. All we can hope is it's the right move.
Yeah, agree with that, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other variable is we've that Semedo's a Mendes client, and it could be that playing out as well a little bit with Mendes, as we know, coming in. I mean, ultimately they've changed. They've done a lot of shuffling, haven't they, of the deck now. Obviously, she's still at the helm. I don't think that changes anytime soon, despite what most people would want. That, I think, will stay. And obviously, they've shuffled it, and as Stu's just said quite rightly, we've just got to hope and make sure it's the right call, and they've made the right positions and right changes. They've spotted it. They've made a change. Is the change going to work? We all hope it does, and we'll see which way we go.
123 North Street has advised the friends within the community that he's been banned from the Wolves Trust over his comments on Jeff Shee and the owners. No word on Jeff Shee being transferred by Neil White. Not 123 North Street. Jeff Shee is the bad apple. From a fan's point of view, I can't really disagree, but this is why we've got the T-shirt for sale on our team outside the mock Shee out. Within the eyes of Faust and Greg, Jeff's doing a good job, balancing the books to a degree, not heavily expended with expenditure. Wolves keep their Premier League place at season on season, 7th or 8th seasons now consecutively in the Premier League. He's doing a good job from a chairman's point of view, but he's never going to be doing the fans any favours, is he?
No, I don't know if the problem is we just don't get that comms anymore. Laurie Dalrymple was very good at this, and this is a big gap that we've had. And I think this causes a lot of the noise and that aggro and a lot of the frustration, because we just don't. Okay, we had Jeff having a bit of a breakdown last summer and all that kind of the messages and that going out. I'm going to describe it as that because I think that's the best way to describe it. I think we've not got that comms base, so we don't know what Fosen are planning other than bits. I think a lot of it is also what's going on with China. Are they allowed to invest anymore? Obviously, that was a big thing historically, which is why a lot of clubs had Chinese owners. So we don't know if they're in a position to invest or if they're going to get in. That's a very, interesting dynamic they've got going on over there. So you don't know whether they're going to push forward if they can invest, or as you say, Dan, it's now a case of, right, Wolves are in there. It's given us branding. It's given us this, and we'll just sit tight and hopefully Premier League will sustain from there. We just don't know. We had a strategy at the start, and everyone could see it. And we worked through that, and you could see the clarity. I think the problem is now we're left to second guess all the time, and different people will come to different conclusions. Some more positive, some more negative. It's going to be the same as any fan base, but I think that's the issue. We don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, we've had discussions with Laurie Dalrymple in the past on coming on the show, and he's reluctant to come on. He wouldn't be able to be impartial with the role that he did at Wolves. I think that was the reason why he ended up, they ended up drifting apart in the end, is that he was saying all the things that you'd expect from a man within his position in regards to stadium redevelopment and, doing X, Y, and Z, but I think Fosen have come to the end of going back on what I said. Hopefully, the restructuring that they've had recently is a new path in us trying to be a bit more forward thinking and a bit more lavish in our recruitment. But they don't really tend to look like they've got the club's, the fans' interests at heart, especially with sort of the season ticket pricing last season, and the amount of top players that we've lost season upon season. It is frustrating, but Jeff O has brought it on nicely in the comment section, saying up the esports wafflers. The news that did come out earlier today via the Wolves esports is that the esports team have announced their new esports stadium within China. An investment company has invested around $27 million in a new stadium, which is set to hold a capacity of around 2,000. Wolves own a spot in Honor of Kings, a league with homestands like Overwatch, which, if that means anything to you, fair play. But there is room for investment within this group under Falson Sports. But does that sort of thing grind your gears, Stu, when you see stuff like that with the esports, or are you into your sort of Valorant type wins that I've seen across our social media in the last 24 hours or so?
Jafo loves Valorant. That's his thing. And I watch Twitch occasionally. Yeah, okay. I'm not one of them. But I get the appeal. And we all saw it in COVID times when there was nothing else to do and you're watching e-racing and stuff like that. Great, it's fine. But it just shows what they want, and it shows their priorities, really. When we've got it on good authority that we're having the TikTok style screens to replace them shitty little things would have costed me 2 million each, so 2 million quid, and yet there was no return on investment, so we couldn't have them. So we stuck with them little tiny things still, which is smaller than what we had in the 90s as well, remember? And yet they can build an esports stadium in China. And all we wanted was the Steve Ball fixed. All we wanted was it to look the same. The whole thing about the original plan, Morgan's plan, just to knock that whole thing down, have that connected up, pay it off over 20 years, no problem at all. No return on investment. Yet we're part of their forever group, apparently. So it's just one thing after another, and it's just you can never guess what's going to happen next. I mean, we heard rumors of this happening last year, and people was, "Oh, there's no way, you're being silly." And yet again, it's more ridiculous than we expected. And yet, if there's no money and they can't invest in things in China anymore, yet they can go and do this. So you can either have one or you can have the other. We've never ever seen the money that they were supposed to make through esports. I mean, we had that comment from that guy who's saying, "Wait, Wolves is a football team," or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They got like 2 million views on Twitter, and he genuinely didn't know. He was just a gamer nerd, and that's brilliant. Yeah, that works in Jeff Shee's mind. That okay, so he's fell in love with the esports team. Now he's going to be a football fan. That's not going to work. That's not going to happen, is it? And even if he did, is he going to buy something from the merch store? Is he going to get on a Valorant team's shirt with Fosun Foundation on or something like that on the sleeve? Or even worse than that, the away shirt with Sandwell College written on it that one of the esports teams wears. It's just the whole thing is a farce. And I get it. The whole thing with Wolves music at the time, it's something different. It might work, it might not. Which was fine when it was just an offshoot. But when they're actually putting money into one part of the group and that it's not the football club, it's going to roll people up the wrong way.
To be fair, though, it did unite the fan base because everyone piled in. I mean, the interactions was wild. So they inadvertently was like, "What are you on about?" No, so that kind of paused all the other noise for a sec while everyone piled in. That was quite hilarious watching that this afternoon. That was quite funny. What do you mean, Wolves is a football club? Yeah.
I still haven't seen that video. I need to give it a watch. It's frustrating because there's literally an old gold mine at the centre of England with a football club at the centre of it that could be really taken to the stratosphere within the football universe if it was run properly, with being middle of the country, one city club, X, Y, and Z. But yeah, I feel like we've hopefully not come to the end with Fosun, but I feel like they've probably come to the end with us, and they've got bigger priorities within their portfolio.
You'd say that, but if they're investing £27 million in a Wolves team with all the logos and everything, they can't really sell the football club to a certain degree because all the branding and that would be from there. So, you know what I mean? You can't run an esports team called Wolves Esports using the same logo to then sell a football team because all the trademarks and that are technically associated to a football club. So in a perverse way, by investing in the esports team, they're kind of stuck with the football team because they're using the same logos and stuff, or they'd have to rebrand the esports team at that point.
Jeffro in the comment section, if our Valorant team win on Friday, then they get to a grand final more than our football club has done. Hope they don't bottle it like Wembley.
It's
no Shipper Van Trophy. Okay.
Yeah. Let's get back to obviously the Wolves news. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about Nelson Semedo joining the likes of Olympique Marseille. Sam Johnson's been linked with a move to Sunderland, Leeds United. Tommy Dawes been linked to moves to Sunderland, Wrexham. Fabio Silva's been linked with moves to Dortmund and a few other sides. Sasa Klaj's been linked with a move to Besiktas and Werder Bremen. The one player that's been sort of promoted on the Wolves YouTube channel over the last couple of weeks is Hugo Bueno, returning from his loan spell from Feyenoord. What's your feelings on Hugo being the first choice left back this season, Strips? I know I asked this Greg on the last show.
I like Hugo Bueno. I think he got injured at the wrong time. So he was playing well, and you look at his breakthrough season with us, and he was in and out of the side, and he made mistakes. But you look at that ball that he put over, was it a Palace? And it was a wonderful cross. And you think, okay, he's more of an attacking wing back than we think he is, really, despite his style. And starting out as a winger, I've got no problem with it whatsoever. I'd put him straight in the team and not even worry about it. You don't play in the Dutch league. You don't play Champions League football for that level. You don't have Robbie van Persie talking about him like he did, and not have something about you. And I think if we were linked with a player from Feyenoord with that kind of record from last season, everyone would be jumping at the chairs. And you think, well, okay, we've got this guy for free, effectively. It's a new start, different role. Let's crack on. And yeah, I'm more than happy with it. I don't think we need to replace him at all.
There's just always a concern, isn't there, with how much of a gulf there is between the Premier League and all the other top 5, 6, 7 divisions now, isn't there? You saw the way that Fabio Silva didn't really pull up trees for PSV, and that they were sort of playing him off the left, similar to what he was doing for Rangers. He wasn't really the number 9, was he? I'm concerned that Hugo Bueno, he's got questions over his fitness, hasn't he?
And he did. I mean, he still played a lot of football last season, and you got to look at his age as well. When you get a lot of injuries and niggling injuries when you're young, don't you? Especially if you played too much. And we saw that with Michael Owen, especially for the high-profile case. I know when you look at it from like Leif Davis for Ipswich, who was one of the best players in the Championship the season before, and everyone was raving about him, and he came up and he did absolutely nothing last season. So you get the golf in class in the Championship as well. But we've seen him do it in the Premier League before for us. That's my only thing. And you think, well, he's had a year out playing very competitive football to a decent standard, coming back into a league that he knows, with a lot of the similar players that he knows are still here, and the environment's still the same. I just think it's set up for him to flourish. Yeah. If not, then what was the point in loaning him out in the first place?
Yeah. I think that was the whole point why they loaned him out, wasn't it? To give him that season under his belt and see how he coped playing sort of European football. I would have hoped that Ruben Vinagre would have really sealed this spot by now, but obviously that fell away in the long term. Jeffro commenting, Breno has a profile that suits this team more than Ryan Aït-Nouri, so maybe we are being blessed by accident. And still he's sort of thrown in at the deep end over a 38-game season. Greg, we won't know with Hugo Bueno.
I don't know. I mean, one thing to know, and I was trying to work this out earlier, I don't think Ryan Aït-Nouri actually did. I know he's more press resistant and things like that. I don't know how many, I was trying to work it out the other day. I don't think Ryan Aït-Nouri actually finished many games completely. I think he tended to last around 70 to 75 minutes, and he invariably would come off with cramp or something similar. perhaps I'm misjudging that, but I think he didn't actually get through many games. I think the reality is he's done enough to earn a run of games to prove himself. I think that's where he's at. He's played in the Champions League. He's played in the Dutch League is nowhere near the same standard as Premier League, 100%. But you've got to now give him a chance to prove, and he'll either work or he won't. But he's earned that. He's earned the right, I believe. And I think the way the club's PR machine's going, he's going to get that chance. Otherwise, why would you do all the kind of pieces that they've done? So I think we've just got to back him, and hopefully it works out. I also saw a couple of I think he's a better crosser of the ball. Yeah, and I think that could play quite well. So I think we need to just try and I think he deserves a chance, and he deserves a run in the team, and hopefully that works out. I really do.
Yeah, I think he's crossing from further deep will benefit Strand Larsen even more.
Yeah.
Come next season, and good luck to him. We're going to have a quick audio break for our audio listeners on Spotify, iPhones, etc. in a quick second. But I'm just going to leave it with this comment from 123 North Street that says, "More hope Dan getting Taylor Swift pregnant than the esports brand helping us as a football club." Back in a second.
Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Welcome back to the Wolves Fancast in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network, FCquiz.app, and the Boston Coffee and Vending Company. The main sort of scheme of tonight's episode was to discuss the fixtures that were released today for the new season. Wolves start the campaign at home to Club World Cup competitors, Manchester City at home on Saturday, the 16th of August at 5:30 p.m, followed by fixtures away to Bournemouth, home to Everton, away to Newcastle, and then home to Leeds. What did you make to the fixtures when they came out between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m, Greg, after all the rumours that sort of circulated that we were being treated to a first fixture of the season at home to Man City?
Yeah, I think it's a tough game. Listen, it's going to be a tough game. They've invested heavily, as we've already seen. Pep's going to have them bang up for it. Yeah, they've got a bit of a pre-season tournament going on at the moment. But it's going to be a tough game. But I think it's one, as a fan base, evening kickoff, we've just got to get behind and look for a solid start, and try and build from that base. If we can grab something, it'll be a real kind of shot in the arm for us. But we all know it's going to be a tough game. And, if we can keep it competitive and keep it close, I think that's the important thing, so we can then take that into the 4 games that follow.
Yeah, it's Man City at home is always a difficult one. I'm hoping that they go far in this Club World Cup. There's a lot of money to be won. Winning this tournament isn't the stew, so hopefully the further they go, the more burnt out they'll be come that 16th of August fixture.
Yeah, and Haaland came on today as well, and Rodri came on off the bench, so they are managing the numbers. I mean, the squad that they've got, there's no reason for them to be tired anyway, if they do things properly and not peppify you. But it's different. I quite like it. I mean, it benefits me being a 5:30 kickoff anyway, because that's the day I come back from the Promised Land, and my week there as usual. So I'll be back in plenty of time. A few beers on the road, as you do. But we haven't really had like a game like this. I mean, yeah, we had Arsenal away, but home-wise, and the one against Everton when we first got promoted back again, that was a pretty big deal on BT, wasn't it? So to have a game against one of the title contenders that actually could win the league, not like Arsenal, it's pretty exciting, And I'm normally the one who can, well, whatever happens, what happens. Even if we get beat, it's the first game of the season. It doesn't really matter. So getting it out of the way early, when you expect them, like Greg said, they have invested, you expect them to be right back up there again. Brilliant. We can cause an upset early. It's not going to be bothered it's not going to bother them too much. If we get beat, everyone expects us to get beat anyway. It just sets the tone, and let's hope we actually get a good, decent preseason and a good run into things rather than what happened in America last year. But you look at them first 5 games, 6 points from that, I wouldn't cry about it at all.
No. Yeah, I think there was a stat, wasn't there, that said I think we've got the 6th hardest first 5 fixtures, but then if you look at the first 10 fixtures, I think we drop a lot lower then at that point. So yeah,
You've jumped the gun a little bit there,
Oh,
Greg. Obviously, with the Opta analyst assessed the opening 10 fixtures ahead of the 2024-25 season. We all could see it without the Opta rating. Wolves were deemed to have the hardest opening 10 games last season. The tables have turned this time with Vita Pereira's side handed the easiest start to the campaign. Opta has its Pereira rating of 91.2, which makes Wolves opening 10 fixtures the easiest out of the 19 other Premier League sides. So, based on what
Gonna win
Gary
it all.
O'Neill said, it will be, after that 10th game, we'll be looking at Europe as a minimum. I don't know what a maximum is, but maximum
Get 'em
titles, I
ready.
suppose. Yeah,
Get 'em
get your
ready.
passports out. We're already there. It's irrelevant, isn't it? It's a 38 game season. The Opta ratings are as good as more chances with Taylor Swift, as 1, 2, 3 North Street said earlier. There's a percentage, but the percentages mean nothing. You have to a lot of sort of conundrums and conditions need to be met in order to seal that deal, whether it's Wolves winning the title or me getting Swift with Taylor. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult season because I said these fixtures are irrelevant with the Opta Pereira ratings, because if Vita Pereira isn't back, Greg, we're on a hide into nothing.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I can't. Yeah, we're going to be struggling. We've got to pick up an early win somewhere, get the momentum, build it back. That was part of the problem last season. The guys were just shot from a morale perspective, and it was a real struggle. So, but you look at those games there. I think, Stu, you've called it bang on as usual. I think 6 points. You look at those first 5 games, you take 6 points out of those, and then you build on from there. You're not going to be anywhere. You're not going to be at the bottom at that point. Certainly not. You'll probably be sitting somewhere in the middle, and then you can work on from there. So, yeah, that's the way we should look at it. Take these first 5, 6 points, and then keep building out from there.
2 really difficult away ties in those 5: Bournemouth away and Newcastle away, which in recent years we've not had the best record. Now we beat Bournemouth away 1-0 back in March or February, I think it was, but when they went down to 10 men. I don't feel we've picked up many wins away at Newcastle for a good while. I think it was the Doherty winner. I think last time we won at St James's Park. But the 3 home fixtures will really, I think, set the tone for where our season will go. I think if you was to lose those first 3 home games on the back of a poor recruitment window, the toxicity does rise quickly, doesn't it, Stu?
Yeah, I mean it follows the pattern, doesn't it? And we've been in this situation before, where manager tails off, end of the season, lasts till October, gone. Haven't done Delage, haven't done Gary O'Neill, but he was a fool. I don't think it's going to happen this time. Even if he doesn't get backed, I think he's a better manager than them two. And there's more resilience and more idea about what the hell's going on around the place. And if it comes to it, and we start in whatever kickoff day is, in the second week of August, third week of August, whatever it is, with this squad, yeah, it's disappointing, and we're putting ourselves short yet again. But that doesn't mean that squad's going to get relegated. Not when you look at. I know it's easy to say Sunderland, and it's easy to say the promoted teams all together because of what's happened the last 2 years, but the resilience in this squad as it is, when you're already looking at Strand Larson on holiday with new signings, so there's one leg up already. They all seem to be enjoying each other's company again. Getting rid of that idiot is going to help things from massively around the place by what we all heard, not just us, a lot of people, with Cunha's behaviour and the training ground and to staff in general. We all saw what happened when he wasn't here. The team performed better without him. Factually, got more points without him in the team than with. So I don't think it is going to go badly. I mean, everyone can clip this up and come and attack me again if I'm wrong. But for once, I'm going into this season being semi-positive about things, even knowing how bad Fowson are. And just to answer Jafo, I've got a red passport because I renewed it in 2020. And then the world ended. So that's why. So I've got another 5 years left. Muted. Standard.
new season, same old me. His haters will hate, but Stu's more often right than not. And if he thinks it's going to be an half decent season, I'll take that now. But if we have a quick look on the screen for the sort of full itemised fixtures, obviously Man City at home, Burnley away, last game of the season. I think Liverpool away is the closest fixture to Boxing Day, with the reveal that Sky or the Premier League won't be having any fixtures on Boxing Day this year.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Any fixtures that stand out for you? I mean, obviously, what's the sort of first fixture you look for in this calendar, Stu, with the fact that sort of our illustrious neighbours, West Brom, aren't located anywhere on this screen?
I mean, Everton away was the first one I looked for, just because it's a new ground and I haven't had one for years. So I'm glad that's a Wednesday night, because that won't be a problem at all.
It will be for a lot of people. I think I was looking forward to that Everton away game to obviously go to the stadium.
Be a real fan.
My work calendar goes January to December, and using a day's or half a day's holiday for a midweek Everton away fixture. If we're in the hunt for Europe, yeah, I'll book the day off, and then I'll even come on the Everton with you, and we'll make a day of it. But that hasn't enticed me midweek to Everton. But it's one of them, isn't it? If we want to do well as a club, as a fan base, we need to get behind the team every game, full houses in the home and away ends for every Wolves game.
In Boxing Day was the one that I looked for. I mean, there is no way that there's going to be no football on Boxing Day. Let's just say that now. We can all see what's going to happen. The tagline will be Boxing Day football only on Sky Sports. It's already, you can see it already. That people moan so much about Boxing Day football being moved for telly that they've done it the other way around. And you'll just see it. And you look, there's no games in the week beforehand, so there's no reason why they couldn't put it on Friday. So everyone's going to play on the Saturday, which logically makes sense, but everyone's off on Boxing Day anyway. So all you'll see is you'll have 3 games on Boxing Day, probably, like they do in the NFL on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving as well. And they'll make a whole thing of it because it'll be the only football on. You might get an EFL game on early and then 2 Premier League games, but there'll be games on Boxing Day. Will Liverpool away be one of them? Probably, because it's Liverpool, and it's Liverpool or Man United or Leeds at a push that they're going to put on to get them the bigger audience, because that's how things work. Being Burnley away last game of the season is not great. Although I
thought you'd be all over that from the cricket ground drinking point of view.
Cricket club in the sun will be amazing if it's not pissing down, which around about the end of May, it's a 50-50 chance of either or. And you get your pie with sugar and peas, so that's always interesting. But yeah, Villa away will be a Sunday because they're Europa League stuff, so that's already moved unofficially. Because that's how sad I was this morning. I went and checked the UEFA matchday thing as well to see because we got done over loads of times last year, and I think a quick look, Villa's the only one that matters before Christmas, or before New Year. So generally, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as it was last year, obviously, because that was the blocks of games against bad opposition for us was pretty horrendous. I know Sunderland have got done for a bad month this time round, send them back to where they came from, kind of thing. And we've got, on paper, a bad December, but 2 of them against Man United, and who knows what they're going to be like. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it for a change.
Is there a potential for the Chelsea away fixture in November to move as well, even if it's just like a later kickoff on the Saturday?
I think they'll all be moving. There's more games on telly now this season than there were last.
Yeah, but that is a bit of a trick though, because the whole more games thing, they're just putting the games on Sundays all on telly. So that even though if you've
is that what it is?
That's what it is. So they're not. There's no new slots or anything like that. They're just putting, like when there's 4 games on a Sunday for whatever flower show reasons or something, that they'll all be available to watch on telly. So that you can't watch all the games, all 80% of games are being broadcast, but you can't watch all 80% of games So it's a bit of a marketing thing, but I don't know how they'll work it with the Champions League, because you might see a few things like that where they'll move them for that reason. But looking at it, they'll be Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you ain't going to automatically get a Sunday move for no reason at all.
Being the youngest one of the three here, which I just wanted to just bring up, if anyone was unsure, what sort of for those who might want to visit you at Molineux, Stu, what's the fixture nearest to your birthday next season?
Let's have a look. I haven't even looked at this. It's Man United at home. Oh, glorious! That could be. Yeah, my birthday's on the December the 8th. Write it down, people. Send me things. So that could be a Monday night game. Man United at home on a Monday night. It's got all the trappings.
What about yourself, Greg? Obviously, birthday fixture-wise, and sort of some of the fixtures that stand out for you.
My birthday was last Saturday, mate. So my birthday's
sorry, I forgot you were 51, weren't you?
I look about 61 now. I think so. Mine tends to clash with Euros and World Cups, mate, which is always a good excuse for even more drinking. Let's be honest. So yeah, unfortunately, mate, mine sits outside of the normal season.
What about the fixtures that stand out for you?
It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, like Stu, I looked at Christmas fixtures. I look at the first game of the season, last game of the season, thinking, crikey, who do we need? If we need to bail 3 points out last game of the season, what have we got lined up? Praying it wasn't Liverpool away again like it normally is, or it seemed to be a lot recently. And then for me, usual ones, Villa. When are we getting Villa? Liverpool, home and away, the bigger games, really. For me, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these teams play out. You know, you look at Brentford, have just lost their manager who's kind of pretty much setting the tone. Forest, are they going to be able to cope with the extra fixtures with the squad? You know, we all know how Nuno likes a small squad, a couple of injuries there. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of the other teams shake up. But yeah, that's where I'm going to go. First, last and Christmas fixtures for me.
Yeah, and then when you put it down on paper there, Man City, Liverpool and Burnley, those three fixtures sort of standing out.
Yeah.
It's a 38-game season. It ain't going to be easy. We never do things the easy way. I think we need to be at least comfortably safe by the Tottenham home fixture at the end of April. I think if you go into that sort of May sort of bracket of fixtures, Sunderland at home, Brighton away, Fulham at home, Burnley away, I think the alarm bells are seriously ringing, aren't they, come that May month. But I said in our WhatsApp group earlier, there isn't really a fixture month that's really haunted me, looking at those there on screen. I know like February, March time is a bit difficult, but I don't know. I still think there's like winnable games there. I think we always tend to do reasonably well against Villa at home. Liverpool at home, even though they've beat us a few times, I think we always give them a competitive game. I think Gary O'Neill was unlucky not to get at least a point at home to Liverpool last season. So it's going to be a long season. Hopefully the season comes around quicker. And soon, I'm not sure if I don't think either of you are travelling to Girona, are you, for the Spain game?
No, not at the moment.
No. That wasn't me trying to show off anyway. I'm going.
You can, yeah. We'll man the fort here, mate, while you're getting the sun and beers in.
That's it. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it, guys. You know, God gives his toughest jobs to his hardest soldiers, is the saying, isn't it? I'm trying to think. So we mentioned earlier that Wolves, according to the Opta analyst, have got the easiest 10 opponents in the first 10 fixtures, according to that website. And then followed by Chelsea. Liverpool have got the hardest run in for the first 10 fixtures, according to the Opta analyst. Trying to think what else I've got. Obviously, there's a few things that could lead to fixtures being rearranged in the stew in regards to the first. Obviously, we all know that Wolves Man City is the 5:30 kickoff in game week 1, but game weeks 2 to 6 can still be rearranged up until the 9th of July. Have I got that right?
Yeah. We know that's. I mean, I am kind of glad that the Premier League do this every year, that they put where an estimated time of when they're going to announce when the TV is going to bend you over, because it never is that actual date either. It's around. It's like a week, 5 days either side. So you're just going to refresh in the Premier League website just in case. But you get a general feel about it's normally a 6 weeks notice to book things and get yourself sorted on where you're going to go and stuff like that. So I think Carabao Cup is the first one the first, because we don't have any. I think there's only 3 night games in the whole season, Premier League season. With Forest at home, Forest away, and Everton away, the Wednesday nights. By the looks of that, so Carabao Cup, I think, is that next week. It's normally the week after the Premier League, when that's drawn out. But obviously, we're not in the first round, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, FA Cup weeks are up to the quarter final are all on their own weeks again, like last season was, which is good. So you get knocked out early, you have a free weekend. We're doing fuck all. But hopefully we semi-final will be nice again. And a Wembley trip will be nice.
I just want to see us win an actual domestic trophy.
We cursed. We can't win anything until the esports team wins something first.
I still think if we can get past, it's similar to the playoff curse that we had on us. I think if we get to a final, I don't care if we're playing like
Neves.
Ruben Neves is Al Hilal in the FA Cup final.
1-1 Neves penalty.
Yeah, King Ruben has just equalised for Al Hilal in the Club World Cup away to versus Real Madrid, sending the keeper the wrong way. I think he's got 1 year left in his contract at Al Hilal, and then I think we might have a real heart-wrenching moment where he returns to the Premier League, but not to Wolves. It all depends on what sort of trajectory Wolves are on and whether Vitor Pereira can sort of talk him into rejoining. But yeah, it's going to be heart-wrenching. I feel like he's going to come back to the Premier League once his deal ends at Al Hilal, and seeing him score against Real Madrid is pleased for the lad, because he deserved that moment for what he's brought to me and the rest of the Wolves fans out there. There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about. Speaking of glorious days of yesteryear, the Cleveland Arms have a night with Alex Ray, Mark Kennedy, and Colin Cameron on August the 14th. Which is 2 days before Wolves kick off the Premier League season. It's a night that will be hosted by Wolves' legendary goalkeeper Matt Murray. You can get VIP tickets, which include a photo with the players, or standard ticketing pricing at £15. Visit clevelandarms.com. I think myself and a few others will be making the trip to the Willenor Roads bar there to see some of our favourite players from the early noughties. And I thought I would end this by putting you two on the spot with one of our sudden death squad type features. So, back in our very first Premier League season under Dave Jones, the opening day of the season, we were ludicrously slapped by Blackburn Rovers 5-1.
Yeah.
Can you name players that featured in the starting lineup for either side? And it is literally sudden death. So the first one of you to get one wrong and the other player to get one right will win the contest. Let us know your answers in the comment section, and I'd hope Stuart and Greg would not be peeking into the comment section for any inspiration. Stu, as you're the older one between you and Greg, I'll let you. No.
You sure on that?
I just wanted to mug Stu off. It's been too long.
I've only only been on it for like 2 months.
I'm coming to you first, Stu. Player that started for either Blackburn or Wolves back in I think it was the 2003-2004 season in the Premier League.
Paul Ince
is one of the correct answers. Greg, your pick.
Just trying to think. I think Alex Ray played.
Greg, there's a reason I brought you on this show, and it wasn't for your trivia knowledge, because you've completely ruined our quiz segment with your first guess. Alex Ray was an unused sub on that day. Purely for added content, I'm going to give you another extra life, Greg. But you will be buying me a drink on that 5:30 kickoff at home to Man City on the August 16th.
Pleasure. I'll pay my penalty on that.
Get this one right, Greg, please. Billy Wright is not a correct answer. Maximus Wright.
Just trying to think, because we had. from the playoffs, did Irwin play?
Dennis Irwin, thankfully for you, Greg, is a correct answer. Back to you, Stu.
Well, if Alex Ray didn't play, then Colin Cameron had to.
Correct. Back to you, Greg.
Lee Naylor.
Lee Naylor is a correct answer. That's both fullbacks complete along with the two centre midfielders. Back to you, Stu.
Mark Kennedy.
Stu has lost a life. It's now a best of three competition. If Greg can get this right.
I'm trying to think who was up front. I want to say Nathan Blake.
Greg.
I'm wrong.
It's incorrect. Nathan Blake came off the bench on the 59th minute. Stu, can you get this right to win the quiz segment, and I will reveal the remaining players that weren't named?
Do I go with Showboat with the neck? Stefan Meyer offer.
Honestly, this is why, if you follow us on @Wolves Fancast, the social media, we have been inquiring for new additions to the Wolves Fancast. We're looking for bloggers, vloggers, pundits, graphic designers. Drop us a DM on social media @Wolves Fancast, or drop us an email, podcast@wolvesfancast.com, if you would like to feature on one of our episodes going forward. Stuart, the Stefan Meyer offer guess was probably about, I don't know, 6-7 years afterwards under Mick McCarthy. Stefan Meyerhofer did not play under Dave Jones. So it goes back to you, Greg, because Stu got it wrong. Which one of these two fans is going to win this quiz segment?
I'm just trying to think. Trying to think who was in goal.
The thing is, I was there as well, which makes it worse. Up at here as well.
I don't think. I'm just trying to think if Murray played, because he played in the playoff final, which we all know, love and remember. But I don't know if he started, or if Oakes or someone else played instead, or was Hanneman around that time.
This is what happens as you get older. You start to become more like senile, and you just start. I was listening to the Let's Be Having You end of season quiz earlier, and
let's go with Oakes, and then I'll probably completely nose this up. But
yeah, it's another incorrect answer, Greg. You should have went with Matt Murray. I'm not letting Stu have Matt Murray. Stu, give me another correct answer to win the quiz.
It was his only game in the Premier League, wasn't he?
It was.
Is that what it is?
And got absolutely abused by probably 3 or 4 goal of the month contenders from Blackburn on the day.
So, okay, Stefan Everson.
Stefan Everson.
Yeah. It was
is
one
the
or the
correct
other.
answer, which, he goes down in Wolves folklore for scoring our first Premier League goal. Stefan Meyerhofer did score away to Blackburn in an opening day fixture a few years later on. The other players that you could have had from the game, obviously Matt Murray in goal. You've already named Dennis Irwin and Lee Naylor. Wolves centre-halves that day with Jody Craddock and Paul Butler. You've already mentioned Colin Cameron and Paul Ince as our 2 centre midfielders. Wolves wingers that day, Mark Kennedy was unavailable, wasn't even on the bench. Our wingers were Sean Newton and Silas, who was replaced by Nathan Blake on the 59th minute. Our strikers that day, as Nathan Blake was on the bench, were Stefan Everson and Dean Sturridge, who was replaced by Oleg Luzhny in the 73rd minute, and Sean Newton was replaced by Mo Kamara in the 86th minute. You could have had sort of players that abused Matt Murray on the day, Brett Emerton, Dwight York, legendary defender Lorenzo Amoruso. Blackburn had Brad Friedel in goal that day. Yeah, the list goes on. Have a look at sort of 11versus11.com for sort of the fixtures and the teams that were involved that day. And yeah, thanks for joining myself, Greg and Stu for
Cheers,
the
everyone.
latest Wolves Fancast episode. Be sure to drop a like on your exit and listen to it back if you didn't join us from the start at Wolves Fancast on Spotify and iTunes. Try and give us a 5-star review on there. It really helps us get on a lot more people's algorithms. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll be back in the coming weeks to discuss more transfer rumours and the upcoming pre-season tour to Spain and the fixtures that have been announced away to Stoke and at home to Celta Vigo. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. And as always, up the Wolves.
Thank you.